Your boy Corey Taylor was on that rocks with Eddie Trunk and why am I drawing a blank? Don Jameson and Jim Florentine. I don't know why I keep thinking Fiorentino. Like I keep mixing Jim Florentine up with this like 80s softcore porn chick. Her name's Linda Fiorentino. And sorry, Linda, like I'm sure her career is way more than that. That's just like USA Up All Night. Okay. That's all I got to say. If you're my generation, you know what I'm talking about. It's like 13-year-old seeing boobies on cable type stuff, you know. That's the world that we grew up in. You know, we didn't have hardcore porno on our phones like you kids these days. Okay, we had to find our porn where we could find it on USA Up All Night, like really soft. It's like the kids that looked at their, you know, the Victoria's Secret catalog or something, take that in the bathroom for a long bathroom break. Wow, I really got sidetracked on that, didn't I? So that rocks had Corey Taylor, and I got a couple of little snippets here. We'll jump around a little bit, but the first thing that he kind of talked about was playing in the sweaty ass suits. And so check this out.
Very, very soon. But yeah, in some of these places, there's intense heat and stuff. I would think you'd want that thing as close as possible, especially if you got to put a mask over.
You know what? It's not even my head that sweats the most, dude. It's the layers, the sheer layers of all the crap that we have to wear to look cool and Slipknot now. I've got the blazer, which is super thick. I've got the shirt, which just does not breathe. And the only thing that really allows me to breathe are my jeans, and they're tight enough. You can tell what my religion is. And it's just, at this point, I can't get enough water on my body. I look like I'm trying to take a shower at some points. But I tell you what, it keeps me svelte. I mean, I stay, you know, relatively, I can eat like crap. And I get on stage and I don't look like a total piece of garbage, you know.
How many songs in are you sweating like a maniac? Like 2 songs, 2?
It's from the jump, because we've also got the lights, we've got the pyro. It's naturally hot out
there. As someone who's played in bands on stages like that, it's always hot, even without a suit on. You know, I'm a bigger dude, so I sweat my ass off. So I can only imagine what it's like to have a costume like that on. It's got to be insane.
There, we have 12 layers on like psychos from the 1950s. Yeah. I mean, it, you know, you'd think we would hate what we do at this point, where it's like self-flagellation, man. But I mean, you know, you don't really process it until about the 3rd song. And that's when you go, oh God, I can't breathe. My starting to sweat. Like it gets gnarly, dude.
Did you ever drop, Corey? Did you ever go down at a show, like dehydrate and collapse?
Yeah, I've gone down a couple times. There was one, and God bless the fans. I mean, there's plenty of footage of it too, which is awesome. I can't I love watching that crap. But there was
that's got to be humbling.
Actually in Dallas, and it was probably one of the hottest shows we ever did.
Oh,
I blacked out about halfway through the show, and I want to say this was like 2012. I just remember we were wearing red coveralls. I think it was the Mayhem that we did after Paul passed away. So I remember we were wearing the red coveralls. I had my All Was Gone mask on, but it was so stiflingly hot. It's that amphitheater just outside Dallas where we always play in Grand Prairie, and it's shaped like a bowl, so it keeps all the heat in. So the heat couldn't escape. So we had all the pyro. It's Texas hot. I've got this crap on, and I just slowly kissed myself goodbye. I'm gone. Like I don't even remember finishing the show. All I remember is waking up backstage and I had oxygen on. Like they had pulled my mask off. They had an IV in me. And when you see the video, I mean, I pretty much did the last half of the show bent over. Like I couldn't even focus on what was going on. And then I took 2 steps off of my check me out box and collapsed. Boom. And like all of these people came running out of the wings to pick me up. You'd think I'd been shot. I mean, it was scary, dude. I mean, from that second on, regardless of heat or whatever, I've always tried to manage to stay hydrated and like healthy and all that crap. Cause I don't want to die. It's just stupid.
Corey,
It's just stupid. Yeah, you don't want to die, dude. I gotta say, Corey came on this show to talk about mostly his solo stuff. But and most of the clips we're going to talk about are related to Slipknot. But I gotta respect the guy. I gotta respect the guy for just keeping busy. He's doing a solo tour, while in Slipknot's downtime, and Slipknot's still together. Like obviously they're going to do a bunch of dates in Europe later this summer. So he's basically doing like a month and a half, 2-month tour with his solo band, and then going to Europe and doing another tour with Slipknot. So that guy's another one, just like Josh, who's really busting his ass, and it's cool to see. So in this next clip, he's talking about Iron Maiden. So Eddie and the boys, they talked about they listed their 6th favorite theatrical bands, and Corey pulled Maiden up as an interesting choice, and he kind of explains why here. Pretty good.
Cooper, Kiss, King Diamond. I'd put Crew on there, at least for the first couple of years.
It's fair.
And then
because they had the Fire and Satan.
I would probably say, and I'm going to count them, I would say Maiden, just because every album there was a theme live, and they would bring, and Bruce loves a prop, man. So he'll run backstage. He grabbed the big ass flags. He's coming out. One of the coolest things I ever saw was the stage for the Somewhere in Time tour, and you were just blown away. I mean, it took you into that album, man. So I would say those would probably be my top 5. And then as far as like the 6th goes, I would go, oh man.
I think he says Mudvayne. So like I was just saying about Maiden, they're still just, in their old age, even just still killing it. And I didn't pick Corey for a Maiden fan, but that's cool that he brought that up. So in this next clip, Florentine asks Corey if his band would ever open, or if his solo band would ever open for Slipknot. So this is pretty interesting too.
Do you ever see a scenario where your solo band maybe could open up for Slipknot or be on the same bill?
Are you trying to kill me?
Ozzy did that a couple of times with Sabbath on an Ozfest.
Ozfest, that's right.
I could totally do it, but only if I had a day off before and a day off after, because I'd be smoked, dude. Because I mean, I'd have to do at least 45 minutes with CMFT, and then have to do an hour and a half with Slipknot. I mean, by that time, you know where to bury me on hour 4.
Corey, I've seen you backstage after a 2-hour Slipknot show doing acoustic set in a tent for people for another hour at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Drunk then, dude. All right. And I'm gonna be 50 for God's sake. Dude.
And I've never seen your voice off. I've always told you that. You've never had an off night.
Did you say I'm almost 50?
Corey didn't sound good tonight.
If he is, he looks good.
That's the first thing he would be saying, Corey, if you do 2 back-to-back shows.
I know.
I mean, he's got to be my age or a little bit older, so that would make sense.
Fucked in the second show. Corey, why he's not so good anymore?
He should have saved
himself. He set you up for the fall, Corey.
So that's cool. Like I said, I got mad respect for Corey Taylor as someone who's just working his ass off and putting on great shows. I saw Slipknot last summer, actually, around this time, in Vegas with Cypress Hill, and it was so good. Slipknot was so friggin' great. And so was Cypress Hill, honestly. Cypress Hill, it's rare that you see a rap group with a live drummer, and they were awesome. And they played a bunch of stuff that I just forgot how many hits Cypress Hill has had over the years. And of course, everyone was blazing in the arena. But Corey, one of the things that I thought was really cool at that show was, I mean, it was packed arena. It was the MGM arena in Vegas. And at one point, Corey stopped and he goes, excuse me. He goes, how many of you are here, are veterans, like have seen Slipknot before, you know, and the crowd cheered. And then he goes, how many of you, this is your first time seeing Slipknot? And the roar was even louder. So that made me feel good as a metalhead to just, you know, as someone who grew up going to Pantera and Metallica and, you know, Sepultura shows and, you know, all these bands. It's cool to see the torch pass, you know, that Slipknot has carried that torch, you know, over the years, and they're still bringing new people into the metal fold. So that's really cool to see. So this last clip, on that note, is Corey talking about fan comments and how Slipknot does not give a shit what you think. I thought this was great too.
Hey, last thing before we let you go from me, and then see if Don and Jim have anything. But I just, I got to tell you, I read an interview. I talked about this on my radio show when the latest Slipknot album came out, The End So Far, which stuff like Yen and things like that are like, that's among my favorite stuff I've heard Slipknot do. I love the video. If you haven't seen the director's cut of the video Yen, it's wild, and I love the song. But when that record came out, which is now a year or so ago, whatever it is, there were obviously some Slipknot fans loved it and some Slipknot fans didn't like it. And I saw an interview where you were quoted. It might have been in Europe somewhere, and they asked you about it, and your response was pretty much like, "To hell with you, you'll like what we give you." And I thought it was the greatest thing I ever, because you can't make everybody happy, and it was just like so blunt. And you're like, you know what? You'll like what we give you, or don't like it, but that's it. You know, it was great.
Yeah, it's honestly, I've been saying it since day one. You know, like we've never been a band that tries to cater to the audience. You know, and I think that's one of the reasons why our fans have stuck with us for so long. You know, there's definitely been times where certain albums, there've been certain parts of the albums that people haven't liked, but for the most part, overall, they've really dug it. But we've been lucky in the fact that we were like, well,
there's always a good track, or there's always several good tracks on any Slipknot album, in my opinion. Even the new one, I didn't love all of it, but there was a couple really heavy songs, a couple bangers.
I mean, good, because that's what we were giving you. You know, like I don't know where you thought you were reading a Dropbox somewhere in front of the manager's office, but those get directly into the toilet. I don't want to have any misconceptions. We don't care. Like, you can go online and rage tweet and post and do all these stupid review videos that, you know, where people break down, this is where Slipknot went wrong. And it's like, that's all well and good. We've never seen one of those, you know, and we will never see one of those. When it comes to the music and the art, we do what we want, and we always have, you know? I mean, I've said it since day one. I make music for me, and then I share it with people, and that's it. I do not try to dial in a certain style. I mean, there's obviously styles that we want to play, or we wouldn't have recorded it, but when it comes to expanding the boundaries, pushing the envelope, and just honestly expanding the palette that we're working with, why wouldn't we, man? You know, you want to spin your wheels in the mud, go ahead musically. We are going to do what comes from the heart. You know, there may be stuff that I don't necessarily, I wouldn't have written, but when I hear it, I go, oh, I can do something with that, you know? And that's the beauty of Slipknot is that you never know what you're going to get, you know? And I think once people kind of got around to remembering that, they all shut the hell up. Let's put it there.
No, Corey, that was a big thing after Iowa. Iowa was so heavy, and then you guys come out with Volume 3,
Exactly.
which is Rick Rubin produced, and it was a lot more slicker, and the Slipknot fans were mad. But meanwhile, to me, that album's a masterpiece. Coming up on 20 years next year, maybe do some kind of special anniversary with that. But you guys caught a lot of flack with that album, but that put you guys in arenas.
I don't understand why either. There's some heavy shit on that. That's a great record. I mean, the first 2 albums are my favorite, obviously, but that album is awesome. So is All Hope Is Gone.
That record.
Yeah. And not only that, but, and I mean, there's a crazy story behind that, because I mean, we started out, we had to rebuild a lot of the bridges that our former management had burnt for us. So the beginning of the Volume 3 run, we couldn't pack clubs. I mean, we had to kind of dial everything back. We had to basically put all of our production in a warehouse because no one would touch us from a production standpoint. And we had to slowly rebuild everything from scratch. I mean, it was insane, dude. There were times when we looked at each other and we were like, what are we going to do? You know? And luckily that album really blew up for us. And, you know, kind of helped us establish where we were going to go musically. But I mean, at the time, dude, it was a crapshoot. I mean, there was no guarantee that we were going to be able to keep doing this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out and smoking with me tonight.